First off, I want to say this channel has received multiple strikes, and I have no idea why. What have I done? Nothing. I'm innocent. Free me from these violations. But seriously, follow me on YouTube because I'm starting to upload them all on there. Go to the bio, hit all the links, and I have some other accounts on TikTok. God forbid if anything happens here, I will start uploading them on there. At least the ones that didn't get strikes. White people have never washed their damn meat, and they think that's normal. White people love to pretend that their food culture is the gold standard of civilization, but if history has shown us anything, it's this. White people's cooking practices have been some of the most unsanitary, unseasoned, and biologically reckless in all of human history. They take raw chicken straight from the package to the pan. No rinsing, no seasoning, just pure microbial mayhem. They eat beef so raw it still remembers its mother, yet call a well-seasoned dish too ethnic. They boil food like they're rationing for another ice age. They mock non-white food cultures while their ancestors were literally seasoning food with ashes and urine. At some point, we have to ask, why do white people refuse to wash their damn meat? Europeans have a long, nasty relationship with food safety. White people love to claim that their modern food safety regulations makes their approach superior. But historically, European food hygiene has been a catastrophe. Medieval Europeans rarely bathed, so why would they wash their food? They stored raw meat in barrels, letting it rot for months before hacking off the moldiest parts and calling it dinner. They ate meat so rancid, they had to drown it in overpowering sauces just to keep from gagging. They considered putrefaction a preservation method, because they had no idea how to store food safely. Meanwhile, the rest of the world was already miles ahead in food safety. West Africans were curing meat with salt and spices that naturally killed bacteria. Indigenous Americans were perfecting smoke-curing techniques that kept meat safe for months. Asian cultures were marinating meats in citrus and vinegar, natural disinfectants, to enhance both flavor and hygiene. Europeans weren't just behind on seasoning. They were behind on basic survival. White people keep trusting the same governments that keep poisoning them. White people love to wave around the FDA and the USDA like they're some divine authority. The USDA says you don't need to wash chicken. The FDA says bacteria will cook off. Rinsing meat spreads contamination. Oh, you mean the same agencies that let E. coli outbreaks happen so often you think it's the seasonal flu? That allow acceptable amounts of rat feces in food products? That regulate lettuce so badly that grocery stores have to recall it every other month. White people are out here putting blind faith in a government that legally allows them to eat bugs and disease. Meanwhile, every other culture follows proven centuries of actual food wisdom. If the FDA told white people that drinking tap water straight from a porta potty was harmless, they'd probably start bottling it. Every other culture knows you're supposed to wash meat. White people love to claim that washing meat is pointless, but globally, that's just basic hygiene. Caribbean people wash chicken with lime, vinegar, and salt because they don't want their intestines waging war against them. Latin Americans rinse meat thoroughly because they understand that factory processing isn't sterile. Africans scrub meat with salt, vinegar, and boiling water because they know bacteria won't just cook off. Asians carefully clean meat and seafood because they don't believe in serving dirt and disease for dinner. Meanwhile, white people will be out here saying that's unnecessary, while getting food poisoning from undercooked eggs in cookie dough. If washing meat is so dangerous, then explain why the rest of the world isn't constantly suffering from foodborne illness. White people's cooking philosophy? Heat fixes everything. White people have the most unscientific, lackluster approach to cooking. They slap unwashed meat onto a pan and assume fire will kill whatever nightmare is lurking on it. They think seasoning means exactly one shake of salt and a half-hearted nod to the spice rack. They actively ignore every food preparation technique that enhances flavor and safety. Meanwhile, non-white cultures have been perfecting food preparation for centuries, marinating, curing, and brining meat for both sanitation and taste, using acids like vinegar and citrus to kill bacteria naturally, applying real cooking techniques instead of just relying on fire to fix their mistakes. White people will eat pink, undercooked chicken, but act disgusted when they see someone properly washing their food. This isn't about science. It's about white stubbornness. White people's bad food hygiene is why they have so many stomach problems. Ever notice how white people are always dealing with some kind of digestive crisis? My stomach is sensitive. Dairy messes me up. Gluten intolerance is just so common. I can't handle spicy food. Maybe, just maybe, it's because they never learned how to prepare food properly. They're constantly battling foodborne illnesses. Their gut bacteria is weak because they don't expose themselves to natural food prep methods. Their immune systems are fragile because they refuse to cook with ingredients that actually fight bacteria. White people love to mock other cultures' food practices, but they're the ones dropping like flies over a little cross-contamination. White people's food habits have been a public health crisis for centuries. The Black Death between 1347 and 1351 wiped out half of Europe, partly due to poor food hygiene. The Great Irish Famine between 1845 and 1852 showed how British food policies could turn a bad crop into a mass starvation event. In the 19th century, factory workers in the US and UK were unknowingly eating meat laced with formaldehyde and arsenic. In 1906, Upton Sinclair's The Jungle exposed how American meatpacking plants were literal biohazards. Even today, white societies have some of the highest rates of foodborne illnesses. The US sees 48 million cases of food poisoning per year. E. coli outbreaks are so common that lettuce gets recalled more often than entire car brands. America's meat industry is notorious for fecal contamination because rinsing isn't a priority. And yet, white people still scoff at cultures that have perfected food safety over thousands of years. White people didn't just colonize the world, they colonized the very concept of food hygiene and made it worse. If they actually cared about health and safety, they'd listen to literally every other culture in the world. Until then, keep that unwashed chicken far, far away. Gope.